I suppose I need my microphone on before I start talking. Hello, ladies and gents. Today is a nice, bright, shiny, sunny day with TwitchCon going on nearby in San Francisco. I am completely ignoring it and doing my own thing instead, as is kind of my way. You can see right now I'm kind of trying to muss with one of the health bars, just kind of a pre-stream play with things, get myself reattached to a lot of the code I wrote and figure out kind of what I was doing and where I was planning on going before I signed off so quickly on Friday. Today I'm obviously hoping to do some inventory display. I also kind of want to pretty up some of these health bars if possible. We'll see if that ends up actually happening. It'd be nice if that ended up happening, but we'll see. The biggest problem right now being that it just does not want to... That's definitely not what I want. Tiled, no. Sliced, yes. It just does not want to play nice with the... Oh, because it's marked as stretch. That's our problem. So if we tell it, stop that, and then told it have a width of 10, for some reason it's not updating the graphics. Okay, so the change is in there. For some reason, it just isn't updating it. Also, the other thing of note is that you'll note that this goes all the way from top to bottom, and it probably should. That's fine. But the big issue here is that I cannot, for the life of me... Oh, okay, there we go. It's a little dark. Probably because the graphic is blue, and therefore, because the graphic is blue, let's see here. How do we fix this real quick, like, before I dive into all the other stuff I want to do today? Because I have a lot of stuff. We're going to crack open our assets, do our thing in here. Let's just fix this real quick. Real quick alike. Because right now, it is incredibly annoying that this is blue. So I'm just going to black and white the whole thing. And while we're at it, let's just... Nope, that's not what I wanted it to do. Just playing with some colors. Knowing your color theory is always good. Being able to mess with sprites and images and make their color match is also pretty good. I also can't help but notice I have this like fringe of white pixels on the left hand side that I'm not a fan of. There we go. Let's let Unity re-import that. That looks much better, doesn't it? Cool. Okay, so that's possible. Maybe I'll finish off updating the rest of these during the Q&A or whatever I feel like, or whenever I feel like diving back into it. As nice as it is right now, I don't really... That is really funny. I don't really feel a ton of desire to go in and do all of them right now. I just kind of want to get one of them in place, see how that looks. Be done with it temporarily. Oop, that is the wrong part of the image to use. I want the progress bar. That is much better. And the background is kind of ugly still because it's, I mean, default Unity stuff is not bad. It could look better. And we could clean up some of these edges as well, but once again, the lazy factor kind of kicks in. Let's see. It doesn't... Oh, okay, we're talking about height of object here. The sliding area. Ah, okay, here we go. If we mess with our sliding area, I bet that will fix it. So we'll go 11 and 11, which pushes it further inwards. Just want to make sure There we go. That it looks nice and shiny when everything is full. I think that looks correct, or that looks close enough at least. The top bar is not maybe as perfect as I might like, so maybe I'll go ahead and say, top can be 10, bottom should be 11. Keep forgetting that when you're in play mode, you have to remember that your changes don't stick in most cases. There we go. That looks good. That actually looks very nice in comparison to how it looked before. I like that much better. Hey Proton, have I said that already? I feel like I've said that already. It's like I'm traveling through time in a linear stream. I'm trying to make sure I don't roll over my dog with the chair, since he has decided to lay himself right between the wheels, which makes it incredibly difficult to some degree to ensure that I don't bump him. Let's see here. So anyway, what I was planning on getting to today was some form of inventory control, basic equipping and unequipping of items, diving into some level of showing that inventory on screen, moving things between bag and what's in hand would probably also be nice, and especially with some stuff that I've had viewers tell me in the past. I've learned a lot about how I should be prefabbing certain items, excuse me, in order to actually have some interesting information flying around. For example, I'm going to create a starter dagger that is also going to be, I'll make the starter dagger right-handed, left-handed, just to get this started, and it'll be a huge hit bonus and little damage. Yeah, Proton Gaming's making references to some of my previous work where I did C++ style work in a different game engine entirely, but I am not working on that right now. Desktop. I accidentally misnamed this. I just want to fix it because it's going to bother me. I hate it when people leave the new blank when it says like new text file, new something else. It just bothers me. And seeing as how it's my fault, I may as well fix it. There we go. So now we have a starter dagger. Rusty door, I'll say it's a rusty dagger. Yeah. In terms of name, I like that I can have a name that is separate from the actual information inside of the object, which is really cool. We're also going to have our, let's see, I've got a rogue. It makes sense for the rogue to have a dagger instead of a sword. And let's say the mage has a dagger instead of a sword too. Just because, just so that we remember that there is some changes in data here. We also need some textures and things, because you'll know, actually no, I don't have icons yet. We also need to do that. There's a lot of stuff to get done. Let's see, so you click on the guy, it brings up the inventory interface. Now you'll note there's nothing really here on it at all. It was nice and blank. Did I mention there's a lot of work to be done? Making interfaces is an interesting part of game design. It's always something that I've been decent at, so to speak. I'm not terribly great at it. I just kind of know when and how to get things tied together so that they don't look silly or so they don't do anything terribly stupid. I don't know. We'll probably see some interesting design decisions on my part on some of this, but for the most part it shouldn't be too terrible looking, at least not to start with, especially since I have some neat new UI tools to play with that I'd like to drop into place eventually. And we definitely have some kind of decoration wise sugar to kind of place on this thing, so to speak. There's always ways to make stuff look better. This is going to be one of those cases. For example, you can't really read that text at all. Like at all. So let's center it in multiple ways. In fact, let's go so far as to make it a child. And just say stretch it to match. Because otherwise it's kind of silly not to. And I have bugs flying around. I don't know when they got in or how, but they're here and they're annoying. Alright, let's go with slight off-white. And Arial text, sure. Do I have another font that I've been using? No. So at some point I'm going to have to go font hunting as well. That kind of happens in the point of every game you work on. You kind of go, ew, Arial is an ugly font. Or at least it's not sizing up as I would like it to. Let's make it size up better. Not the end of the world for right now, but I will want to fix that at some point. Just because that is kind of the... Like, even if I run it right now, it's alright. I guess it's passable, but definitely don't want it there long term. Long term, we want something that fits the theme of the game. So we have the inventory. We have the main image at least. And I'm just going to keep hitting apply. Apply is just going to keep adding all the settings and bits and pieces I put into this inventory screen back into the prefab. I had some kind of a plan here. Some of that seems to have gone out the window at the moment because my memory is just failing me. Like I had a plan. I came to the table with something to do in mind, and now it's just kind of poof, gone. Well, obviously, having either a list of items or a set of icons that denote all of our items would definitely be a good place to start. So, let's see here. I'm going to actually crack open... I'm going to think about this for a sec before I crack anything open. Did I download that into my Scratch folder? No, it doesn't look like I did. Okay. That's fine. I'll just grab from my downloads folder. If I can find it. There they are. There we go. And I've got some icons here, but these aren't the icons I think I want in the end. In fact, I'm fairly sure if I, oh, here they are. Ravenmore, yeah. So these are decent, like, separate sizes, and everything else is kind of taken care of in here. I'm just going to extract them to their own folder. And I'm kind of, just for kicks, let's do something silly, real quick-a-lack. Project settings. I think it's an input? No, I don't think it's an input. Where the heck is it? In the player settings? Global. Oh, somewhere around. Oh, icon? No. Close, but no. Oh wait, no, it's just right here, and I'm just blind. Don't mind me. Don't mind me at all. It's funny, I was listening to a Twitch talk, and the guy was mentioning how a lot of streamers, whoa, that's corrupted. Maybe I'll hang off on this for a while, because that is some severe graphical corruption. It's not loading this file incorrectly at all. I'm tempted to see what happens if I dump it into something like JPEG format, just out of pure curiosity. But I have a bad feeling it's going to be, yeah, look at that. Oh man. Unity, what did you do? Alright, well, never mind. Throw that idea out the window real quick. I kind of expected to have a nice, you know, well-controlled mouse cursor. Instead I got graphical corruption. Unity, what are you doing? Why? Why would you do that to me, specifically? Let's see here. I keep kind of a scratch folder of all the art that I may or may not use at some point floating around. Kind of makes my life a little easier in terms of finding things later when I expect to, and also just because I don't tend to commit these files to the repository, I can just kind of dump things in here that have ideas attached to them, and then I can kind of go forwards from there. So let's see here. Don't care about progress bars of any color. Radio buttons, no. Skull might be cool. It might. Let's go grab something from here real quick. Nuke all the dead space in there. Whoa, that's nice and high res, isn't it? Also, I love how I could have sworn I hit copy on this object here, which has transparency surrounding it. Right? You get kind of this. It's got transparency. It's got some other pixels floating around, but it's mostly transparent. And still somehow the white pixels find their way in. It just kind of inevitably happens, it seems like. Let's just nuke those right now, because that's going to be annoying otherwise. Oh, what? And of course, Photoshop's toolbar is also sticking around. This is why I avoid Photoshop when possible. It's mostly a personal thing. I have my own vendettas against Adobe, I suppose. It's more like Autodesk I have a big vendetta against. And that's not really Adobe's fault, but there we go. Clean up a couple pixels there. Make sure it's not ugly. But that's not actually what I came for. Hilariously enough. Although it's nice to have. Let's see here. I'm hunting for, I don't care about the slider. The header would be nice to have, though. I think I'll grab the header. Don't want the checkbox. Dark example, light example. Okay, so I think I'll grab that too. I'm just moving bits and pieces of information from the initial template that was sitting on OpenGameArt, and I'm removing it in such a way that A, it's compatible in a PNG format. What? Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. And also I'm doing the work to kind of shift out, because it's hand painted, it has a lot of bits and pieces to it that don't really belong. It has these extra pixels that kind of pop out on the side. It's not exactly terribly clean. Duke wants to know why I have a vendetta against Autodesk. My favorite 3D art program was called XSI, and Autodesk bought XSI and then proceeded to essentially violently murder the product. It went from being a beautiful, easy-to-use 3D tool to a piece of garbage that nobody would want to touch with a 10-foot pole, including the developers at Autodesk. So they then proceeded to drop support for it, which effectively killed the product. So just by buying it, they kind of killed it. And that's not really a sentiment I take lightly, because I really liked XSI. It was a fantastic 3D modeling tool. Really? Is it that huge? Holy heck. Okay, let's bring this thing down in size. Yeah. And let's keep it proportional to some degree. Just kind of want to make sure that this is the same size. There we go. That looks pretty nice. We'll just fit this in right over here. And you'll note, once again, thanks to Photoshop, we have a nice white border that we have to delete. Not the end of the world, but extra work. Ugh. And, okay, that is really annoying, having Photoshop's bar right here. Because I keep going for, I look upper left first, and I happen to see, oh look, there's my tool. And then I click on the, nope, wrong one. See, I did it again. Ah, come on. There we go. And then I keep clicking on the Photoshop one, and that sends me in circles, and I feel like an idiot on stream, and that happens more often than I think I'd like to admit. Okay. I have headers, I have slots through which images can fit into. I'm trying to think of anything else. Let's just take a quick peek at, ooh, these are such pretty icons. I love the art style in these. And you can kind of see the upgrade path that the artist had in mind, right? Here's the standard, here's the +1 version. Here's the standard, here's the +1 version. I like how there's no +1 version of a backpack. That kind of makes sense. But yeah, a lot of the basic items in his set. I love the art style here. Very little line art. It's all shadowing and color and shading that actually changes the look of the art. Maybe that's what I'll put in for the first dagger that, or sword that the players are using. It's just a friggin' wooden sword. Oh, and then they have further upgrade paths too. Wumbo, a lot of the art I pull from Open Game Art. I actually had to hunt down the Ravenmore stuff because they have it on a different site. But it's still... I'm trying to remember. I know where their paid stuff is. I can find that in a heartbeat. The question is where I can find the free stuff that they also host. I'll just toss a link to their site, and I'll let you poke around at it. Wham. Cool. But yeah, the weapons look pretty freaking nice, and I like it. Let's see. I have a wooden sword. Do I have a wooden dagger, or is it just wooden sword? Upgraded spear, upgraded sword. Okay, there's actually not as much in there as I thought it was. Did I grab the wrong one? I'm gonna just peek at it. No, okay, there's just, let's see, 11 items in there, and 41. Okay, so yeah, the items are all here. It's just, there's not a huge selection, which is fine. I can handle that. I'm gonna grab the dagger and the, just for kicks, the wooden sword for now, just because hilarity's sake. Why not? These might get turned into more formalized textures later, or I might just employ, you know, the Ravenmore guys to, hey, can I get more? That'd be cool. I'll give you money. Because remember, guys, your artists are a resource that you do not want to squander in any way, shape, or form. And let's close all the freaking Photoshop, and it's... Oh, wait, before we close Photoshop, we had one more thing we wanted. Yes, I know the clone stamp does not work. That is fine. We just grab the whole thing. There we go. Let's try this again. There we go. Much better. To the clipboard it goes. Keep the canvas size. Holy heck, because that is huge. Shift that pretty close to the edge on a bunch of places. And I'm just, now that I can, I'm going to get rid of Photoshop, because Photoshop is being really annoying right now. Okay, we grab this, we delete it, we grab this yet again. I'm just going to do a quick move after I get rid of the transparency, and let's just pack it in alongside its brethren here. That'll look nice. I might want to make this a little smaller later, but that's a different thing for a different time. I also might want to pull the gems off of this and make the gems a separate piece that actually attaches, so that I can do some cool stuff with like shifting colors in the gems depending on what menu or whatever part of the system you're in. So the upside is this has already updated itself. I just need to line up and extract the new sprites I just added. Fairly straightforward, thanks to Unity being Unity. Man, it's kind of actually difficult to line this up, because you'll note there's a lot of customization. Even in this centerpiece, you can see kind of a blob here and more blob there. And that's going to cause this to not play quite as nicely as we're hoping it will initially. Kind of tempted to do something like this just to make sure that it looks kind of nice. Yeah, let's try that. I know it looks a little silly, but we'll see if it continues to look silly after I fix up certain parts of it that clearly do need a little help. Okay, top, sides, good, 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 good. And one more. What is going on here? That was not well done. There we go. See, UI's not so bad. Just gotta get it to know it first. And then do a lot of tweaking. Especially hand-painted stuff like this is difficult. Like, I'm picking one of the harder routes because I just love the style here so much. And it makes it stupid difficult sometimes to proceed to work with some of this stuff, because I just kind of picked the thing that I thought was prettiest and therefore I think should try and fit into my game, and by doing that I make life difficult for myself. Granted, if we didn't do such a thing, this game would not be nearly as pretty as it might otherwise be. For example, if we look at our header, it now looks nice and chrome and shiny. Up top here, I'm actually going to flatten it a little more. Okay, maybe not that much. And where'd the text go? Oh, I made the text too small. Or I made the box containing the text too small. Did I make it way too small? Oh, it's also white, huh? Okay, switch colors. There it is. But it is kind of tiny. Like, the box that it's trying to fit it within is not happy about it. Oh, and here's part of the problem. It's not considering the entire object for height, which actually is kind of good. Because we technically don't want the text to be any larger. There we go. We don't want it to be larger than the actual object. You'll note that the rectangle here kind of butts right up. It's difficult to see, but the rectangle is kind of butting right up against this metal line here. So we do want to make sure that it kind of stays within its boundaries. That should be large enough. No, that looks silly. Okay. I really do need to find a font. Part of me is just like disgusted at the look of this header piece. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Like something is wrong with it, but I don't quite know what. And having things overlap always kind of tends to break up the grid-y feel of some of this stuff. So it's definitely not too bad to dive in and fix that sometimes. Title background. Nope, too short. I think I had it on 256, which was also a bit much. Better. Much better. That looks pretty good. For now, I will leave it. Our background, let's try switching to the light background, see how that looks. Ooh, I like it. So much better than the rest of the UI design so far. Just the way in which it has some unbroken lines on it, it has a bunch of broken up lines. You'll see the corners look nice. I definitely can appreciate that. Okay, so we've got the inventory. We need it to hold the items that the player who is attached to it is trying to control. Also, I can't help but note, there we go, that my new textures that I just imported just look all kinds of ugly. Dagger, why aren't you, oh, it's not showing up because it's a sprite and not an image. I'll have to think on that. There is not the sprite and image thing. Sorry, it's something else just popped into my head and it caused me to kind of go, oh, I should consider something. One thing at a time, though. Let's get this inventory going. And for now, we're just going to say you have like, I don't know, 12 inventory slots. Or maybe I can page it later. Paginate, I guess, is maybe the better word. I'm still learning all the cool lingo of web stuff. So if I butcher it, I'd apologize, but web dev is hell. So I'm not actually going to apologize. In fact, if anything, I'm going to apologize to people who have to do web dev. Holy heck, your job is hard. And I feel really sorry for you. There we go. Let's see here. What's your... Okay, so image... one... So I want image... Oh, I want the original image 2... So original 2, 3, and 4. Original. There we go. I just want to normalize a bunch of the values in here. Get them all on the same grid so that it doesn't look terrible. There we go, that looks kind of nice. And I know that I've now set them 5 pixels. There should be a 5 pixel edge here. I say should because that might not actually be the case. Okay, so U2. They're actually pretty much at the same value. I'm a fan of easy to use numbers. Okay, so I'm removing, it looks like 35 per line. So this should just be 5. Whoops, and of course, I grabbed way too many. There we go. Nope, I meant the next line. There we go. And the last one should be minus 30, if I'm doing this right. So now they're on an actual nice grid. They're an even distance from each other. Looks good. I kind of know that these are in-pack items. I'm not sure the player's going to have that same assumption, so we might want to, at some point, figure out some kind of sorting method, just so each item slot very clearly is marked, and when you change something in the game, it actually changes where the item goes in their inventory. So what we're probably going to end up doing actually is handing off something like a reference to the UI, so that the UI can then say, aha, you've made a change to this, so I need to tell the player, or I need to tell the player character who's referenced, the matching change needs to happen inside their inventory. Otherwise, things will look all kinds of weird, skewed, crazy stuff. Okay, so item slots, great. I'm actually going to shift these all down just by a little so I can fit some text above it. Because if nothing else, UI is a practice in usability very, very often. How obvious is it what your elements mean, what they do, how they can be interacted with? That's why I'm kind of going with this drag and drop functionality, is because it tends to be pretty obvious to most players just where drag and drop kind of becomes useful. Let's see, there's a 35 pixel gap there, so that becomes, okay, it's like 120-ish on the text. Ish being the key part of that sentence. That looks good enough. And I like to name all my items something meaningful. Titles, labels. I use a lot of terms actually used by, not really Microsoft, so to speak, but by UI artists in general. You'll hear a lot of people talk about stuff like labels when they mean just a static text element or an informational text element. Let's make that a little larger and a little higher. There we go. So this is starting to look pretty nice already, right? We've got our backpack, we've got a bunch of slots, we'll be able to click and drag things from one place to another. They look a little small, is the only thing that's getting to me right now. In fact, this whole thing looks a teensy bit small. I need to remember that this is my 100% view pretty much, and so those are kind of tiny, which is an oopsie on my part. I did not mean to make them so tiny. Let's make these a slight bit larger, and of course now we have to shift around all of our, let's see, I'll find all the 140s. Nope. Nope. There you are. So the 140 is actually fine. It's a little close to the edge. So we'll drag it. I'll leave it. Why not? It's the rest of these, though, that need to shift over more than a little bit. Is that enough? It's close. They are really close to each other. Let's drop it to 85. Yeah. If this is my 100% view, this is really what I want to be viewing this from, just when I work with it. I know, like, part of me wants to keep zooming in, but I know that's not how I should be doing this. There we go. And we can shift this over a slight bit to make it match the new positions. Now we just have to fix the rest of these. There we go. There actually might not be enough space in here for all of these the way I'm currently setting them up. We'll see. We'll have to fight with this a little. I might just have to also make the inventory window a bit bigger. Not the end of the world, just might have to. I say that like it's a terrible thing to move UI elements ever. It really isn't. It's in fact probably one of the easier things I have to do here. Oh my gosh. 50. Yeah, no, definitely. These all need to go not just down, but so much further down. You and you. 80. 120. Okay, that's a little overkill. 110. 105. There we go. So, yeah, I was kind of right about the background thing. We just have to... Sorry, I like powers of 2. You'll note I type in powers of 2 quite a bit as my default. It's just kind of like my state of being. Programming teaches you all kinds of cool stuff you can do with powers of 2. And so my default state, even for things in which it's probably not the best way to handle it, is still, oh hey, powers of 2, those are cool. And then my brain just proceeds to go on autopilot with powers of 2. It's a programming thing. I'm a nerd, I know. These are backpack item slots. I'm actually kind of, you know what, I'm more than a little tempted. Let's create an empty. We'll call it backpack slots. And we'll pop them all under there. Just so we can kind of hide things, and if we want to shift them around all at once, all we have to do is grab this thing now and start playing with it. And you'll note how they all move nicely alongside with it. So we've got our backpack slots, and right now we only have two working slots in each character. They have one hand each, or they have one. Let's try that again. They have a left and a right hand each. I don't understand why my brain is completely unable to form words sometimes. There's a hand slot, and we need to get the hand slot out from underneath the backpack node. Here's our other hand slot. For now, I'm just going to kind of put them there. Part of me wanted to have like a dolly of some kind behind the characters. I put my hands up to the screen also, like you guys can see it. I should just waggle my mouse some more. I wanted to have kind of a dolly figure here so that you knew where you were putting things, but for now, let's get this functional, and then we can do the pretty. Because the pretty is fun, and we should put off our play for our work sometimes. Just sometimes. I mean, technically this whole thing is play, at least for me. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves as well, but, you know, in case this is just a better distraction than doing something else in your house or procrastinating from cleaning or doing something else, I'm also happy to do that. I will be your distraction. Let's see. Is that portrait too large? I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to check this real quick because it looks like her portrait's too large. No, it's not. It's just there. Okay, I thought the portrait looked too large. I am incorrect. Alright, so we've got all of these slots, and the interesting piece of information here is going to be the fact that we're going to have images that overlay these slots. And when you click on them and drag them about, we're going to have to handle the change of slot for each of these items. And then eventually we'd also like to have a pop-up when you mouse over it, right? You mouse over an item, and what's the standard MMO response? They pop up a little tooltip and say, here's all the information you would ever want to know about this item. And so for our wooden sword here and our nice dagger, that actually looks like a decent dagger, we really want to make sure that the information crops up so that the player has all the information at hand. If you ever saw, which I never showed you guys, so you wouldn't have seen, but if I ever showed you guys my dad's manual for Crusaders of the Dark Savant, wizardry number, I want to say 6. The one thing you'll note is that his manual that came with the book, because remember, games used to come with like paper manuals that had spines because they were thick enough, they had so much information in them. And you'd actually see like pencil scrawlings all over this friggin' thing, where every single weapon he had actually to write out, because he calculated the to-hit chances and the extra damage chances and all the things that the game didn't tell you, he had written down in the manual. And I'm not sure I want to go so far as to deny the player all that information. It's usually in better faith if you give the player enough information that they don't feel overloaded, but you're not giving them so little that they feel the need to go derive information from the game itself. Because that's kind of a bad thing to do. I know, right? Games with like hardcover manuals, that just unheard of these days, which is kind of sad. I loved some of those things. I mean, as a kid, I would buy a game, and the first thing I'd do was I'd open the box and pull the manual and just start flipping through it just on the drive home. You know, my dad's driving me home, and I'm flipping through the manual, learning the lore, and already like amazed at how awesome this game looks, even though I haven't even opened it up yet. It was like this pre-hype factor of getting home and installing it. Oh my god, the spammers are strong today. Yeah, Nerf Me, I am definitely working on something akin to a first-person dungeon crawl. Wizardry 7 is definitely on the list of inspirations. Some of Legend of Grimrock, but not all of it. I don't like the real-time combat inside Legend of Grimrock. I want to go back to something a little more retro. The turn-based combat is something I appreciate a lot more, and I think that the game works a lot better with, honestly. I don't think I'm going to go so far as having, like, type your own text for NPCs, but we'll see. I don't know. I might, because I'm crazy. Right? Jalapenos Bud has it right. He used to take his Diablo 2 book to school. That's awesome. For me, it was Warcraft 3 was my high school thing. Middle and high school. Actually, mostly middle school. And some high school, too. I had the Warcraft 3 manual, which was a thick, tiny little book. And I'd flip through it and make notes and jot down ideas for my own custom maps that I would make. So just kind of... It's neat to have a paper manual. I'm sad that with digital distribution, so much of that has kind of disappeared. I'm also kind of happy because it used to create a lot of clutter. I remember my dad used to have entire shelves of spaces that was like built for all the game boxes that he owned. And so you'd see MechWarrior 2 next to, you know, Wizardry next to Space Wrecked next to a bunch of old school games, but it took up a ton of space. Anyway, back to work here. I get sidetracked fairly easily, but that's okay, because they're awesome sidetracks. Alright, so we've got backpack. We've got the slots laid out. So we'll probably want a script for the slot. And then we'll probably... actually, do we want a script for the slot, or do we just want a script for the item? Well, the slot will need a basic script, if only just to know what kind of slot it is, and then from there, we'll be able to transfer things between slots using a script on the object itself. So each item in your inventory will generate an object, and that object that gets generated will then proceed to have certain scripts attached to them. So let's go for that. Let's start down that path. I really don't understand why single sprites have this secondary thing, but that's whatever. Yeah, I'm also kind of sad that digital copies. It's that one dude has mentioned that as much as he likes digital copies, it's like they've been putting less in manuals. And Part of that is because games have gotten more complex to the point where you can actually have, say, something like a really in-depth tutorial. That's not really something they could have before. When you had to fit your entire game on, you know, something like a couple floppy disks, you were really, really hard pressed for every byte and bit inside of those floppy disks. And you wanted to make sure that any extra space you made really good use of. And so you would kind of off-put some of that information to something like a manual. It would just be an information holder, and that's really all there would be to it. And these days, we can fit everything on disk. Like, when was the last time you had hard drive issues while installing a game? I can't tell you. I mean, I have a small SSD, and my idea of small, I think is like still 256 gigs. Like, it's decently sized. I'm actually really curious now what my disk size is. I actually don't remember. Yeah, it's not even 256. It's like 220 gig. And like, when was the last time I ever had trouble with all the games I try and make? When was the last time I had trouble dumping something like that to disk? Like, I can't think of the last time I had to uninstall a game to fit another one on my drive. It just doesn't happen anymore, which is fine. I definitely don't mind the fact that that just doesn't happen. There we go. I'm just kind of playing with stuff while I talk because it's hard for me to sometimes wrap my head around certain aspects of programming while I'm talking. There we go. Haha! I don't know why I felt the need to put a skull on the top of that, but I did. Because I can. Alright, let's actually write some scripts here. So first we have the inventory slot. Yeah. Inventory slot. I'm gonna add UI to the end because this is something that should be attached to a UI object. Yeah, definitely I miss a lot of the old cheat sheet stuff. That was the something that was the one thing that I really miss is if you had something like MechWarrior where it's like, okay, your entire keyboard is part of the input. So your hands are just moving all across the keyboard as you play. So having the cheat sheet you could like prop up against your monitor that's like, okay, 1 through 9 is your speeds, space is your fire, Z and X change your weapon. Like they cycle back and forth. All those neat little things that were included, I'm definitely sad that those things have gone missing lately. It just, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to what the heck? Do I not have access to that? It is sad that a lot of that stuff has disappeared. There we go. So for now, I'm just going to use this as an information holder. I might need to figure out a better way to handle this later, but for now, information holder is all I really want. And we need it on every single one of these backpack slots. So I'm just going to see if I can mass add a inventory slot UI. Sweet. Oh, I didn't make it public. Public. There's a C there, I swear. Okay, cool. There we go. So these are going to be slot type none. But the ones that do matter are these two hand slots. And I'm going to shift them next to each other. Let's see here. So the question becomes, do I put my left hand item on the left slot, or do I put the left hand slot on the left side of the screen? So do I match the character who is probably going to be facing the screen, or do I match, you know what, I'm just going to match the player. Otherwise that's going to be really, really confusing. Like super confusing. Let's see here, equip slots. So inventory slot UI, you are going to be my left hand slot. and we will give it the left-hand slot type. And you are going to be my right-hand slot, and you will have the right-hand slot type. And because the skull, I guess it needs to be on top of everything else. Otherwise it disappears like that. Where's my header stuff? Title, background, there. Glad you guys like the skull. When I get distracted, it's easier for me to do kind of mindless things, so I just kind of start dressing stuff up and playing with variable numbers instead of actually coding. My coding kind of comes to a screeching halt, and my brain just starts doing other things. Taping the StarCraft Brood War hotkey sheet to the monitor, yeah, good times. Yeah, having a screen larger than 15-inch was considered a high-end enthusiast thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think I could survive on a small screen like that anymore. It just... yeah, no. Sometimes when I want to play certain games and I want them really, really freaking huge, I'll actually stream it over to my... I have a laptop hooked up to my TV, and I will stream games to there. So, like, I will play Rocket League on the TV, the big screen in my my living room, and it's friggin' awesome to do that. That's actually one of the more like fun things that I've been doing with that recently. Is I've discovered the joy of Rocket League, and holy heck, there's just a lot to it. There's just a lot to it. That's all there is. Let's see here. So, backpack is going to fit all these items. I have player characters, and I now need to link them to the inventory screen itself. So when you say, I want to create an inventory screen, you need to do a couple things. One is I need to attach the inventory screen to the player so it knows who to tell when things change. And the other thing is that they need to take care of all the data changes inside, not just themselves, but also in the player character. Or the other way to do it would be I make callbacks inside the player character and just have the inventory UI knock those each time you change something. I'm actually just going to try creating an example piece and seeing how well that works. So that does mean I need an item UI. So inventory item UI. Right? Does this match? Uppercase U, lowercase I? No, it does not. Let's delete that before that gets too far. There we go. Better. I like to have my scripts match in style. So you'll note UI is both capitalized in here and in there. I actually went so far as to add an extra I. Inventory item UI. I can't help but note that it didn't nuke the new behavior stuff. So I have the inventory item itself. This is the item that you have that sits in the player's inventory. You have the item UI, which is the object that sits inside the inventory window and does the data changes there. And then we have the slots, which let you know where you can move things to and from. Hopefully that should be enough information that we can kind of begin to put pieces together here. For example, I want, let's see here. So let's say we have an item sitting in a backpack slot. So first thing is we're going to want a new UI object who is going to be an image. And I can't help but note that this image is monstrous. Let's crank it down to something a little more helpful. I kind of want to try filling the whole thing with it to start with. We'll tone it down if it's a little overpowering. Let's get our wooden sword in here. That actually looks pretty good. That fits very well. I'd almost be tempted to size up the wooden sword ever so slightly just so that it looks a bit better and is a little more legible, but it also has a lot of space within the box, so larger items can look larger than others without actually needing a ton of extra space. So as is, I think it's fine. So we've got the item image, to which we are going to connect a couple things. And once again, bugs flying around. I have to just like swing my hands to keep it from getting too crazy. Let's see here. So we have the object. We should probably attach the script to it. Otherwise, it's not going to help us a ton to have the script, much less use it. So we want the inventory item UI. And then the other thing is we need an event trigger attached so that we can drag and drop this thing. So let's see here. Begin drag. I don't really care about begin. I care more about during the drag and after. The two pieces of information we really care about here. So one is going to, inventory item UI. So I need to figure out what the on drag event looks like. Okay, so it's got this pointer event data going on. Excuse me. Voices. I've been talking a lot lately, specifically at work, so I suppose I can see why my voice is somewhat unhappy with me right now. Okay, there's our event systems, and we need an on drag event. Pointer event data. Really? I am using the right everything, right? Event trigger on drag has a pointer event data attached to it. If we look at this, yeah, no, that's fine. Why is there trouble here? The type or namespace name could not be found. I'm going to kill this and bring back Unity and see if Unity is... No, Unity can't find it either. Okay. Oh, I have point event data, not pointer. Derp. Don't mind me. Yeah, please nerf me, just beat me to it. Yeah. Okay. Data dot... Alright, here's all the good stuff. All the information we want here. Is the drag operation currently occurring? I'm getting an on drag event, so I would hope so. Is it eligible for a click? Hovered. Is pointer moving? Last press. I mean, I pretty much just want like a pointer position, which is what that looks like it is. So let's see, we'll say transform.position is the data position. Hey, because when you drag something, it should move. We'll just start with this, and we'll kind of walk our way into this until it's a little more helpful. I am noticing that it doesn't want to be dragged. Oh, I forgot to attach the actual drag script to it. I promise, guys, I know I do this for a living, and I know it seems like I can be completely woefully incompetent with it, but I really can sometimes. I know what I'm doing, usually. For some reason, I just look like a dolt right about now when I'm trying to work on things, just at home. So I'm not seeing it pop up here. Probably. I believe it needs to be public. That might be why. Still no good. Still no good. What is happening here? This does fit the correct... Can't you just implement iDrag handler bypassing all the event trigger stuff? I guess I could. Let's see here. I've actually never done the iDrag handler stuff. I've never actually tried that, but let's do that. There's a first time for everything, and I'm happy to learn and make use of that stuff now. So we go with the iDrag handler, for which we want the, I believe onDrag is one of them. Let's see here. I need to actually pull up the documentation. Documentation is pretty much always your friend. There are very few times when not having the docs with you is meaningful. My problem is I only have 2 monitors, and I use one for the actual coding, and my one over here has my Twitch chat and my my preview of myself and all my other information that I kind of want. I technically almost could use a third, which feels a little overkill because I'd only use it while streaming. That, or maybe I could play the most epic Rocket League ever, have all 3 monitors in front of me and just go for that. That might be really awesome. Okay, so technically you guys are saying this should work without the event trigger. So let's rip this sucker out, because who cares? If this works on its own, I shouldn't need the object. And there it is. Okay. Well, crud. I didn't realize that I could do that, and that would just work. You'll note it slides behind this. I might have to change its sort layer. But that's fine. That's fine. I can always fight with that later. In fact, why don't I just put... I'm seeing the issue. Cancel. Don't do that. I'll think about that. Okay, so so we have the onDrag handler is essentially what that is. We also are going to attach to it the iEndDrag handler. And this takes the same event data. So essentially when you're done dragging, we just want to say, for now, let's see here. So the default is going to be when you don't drop it onto something, it's just going to snap back to its original position. Just so that if you try and put something in a funny place, it'll take care of it. Now, it just made that disappear. Oh, because it's trying to put it at a world 0, 0. There we go. There's always a difference, obviously, between local and... There's always a difference between local and world space. You have to be careful when you name it. Stuff like that. I also can't help but note that it's kind of going out underneath certain objects that I'm not really sure I want it to go underneath. I kind of want this on top of everything while I'm busy dragging it about. And yeah, Cybertech, I did want it centered on the cursor, although I'm not really sure if that's actually... I guess, I mean, you kind of click on it and you just expect it to center, and when I drop it on something, I expect it to do that. So I think that's not so bad. I could eventually use the deltas. I don't really care to. If deltas especially start to build up as you wiggle it around, you'll note it gets further and further away from your cursor. Floating point error is tiny, and it would definitely take an incredibly long time for that to happen. But we don't want to encourage it. So let's see here. So we have some item UI. It's got its current information of what's attached to it. I don't know if you guys can hear the cracking and popping, but no, I got nothing left. I had some more pops and things, but oh well. Okay, so we've got an item, you can click it, you can drag it around, whoop-de-frickin-do, right? What do we care? We care because our next step should hopefully be that we put the item UI, we give it a reference to an actual item. So there is some kind of inventory item here. Because obviously this is going to be a representation of an actual item that exists in a player's inventory somewhere. So, for example, let's say this is player 1's starter sword. Let's see, can I just like click on it and use things in the scene? No. Okay, it wants me to actually, So I don't want it to be just one of the prefabs. I want it to actually pull information from one of their inventories. So this is where I might have to start doing things programmatically. You note up until now, I've just kind of left the character inventory in scene and not cared about it a ton. But at this point, I might actually have to break out the more dynamic elements of this into their own pieces. So you'll note I just made a prefab of the item UI. I'm going to nuke the one that exists. And let's see here, we're going to apply our changes, make sure all of this sticks around when I delete it. Inventory, okay, so we click on a player character, right? Simple stuff there. And when we click on the player character and open the inventory, we need to do a few things. We need to register each of the items and create, essentially, each of the item UI objects that exist. So, let's see. Here's our inventory UI. Let's see, inventory. So that's just a template for things. And I think I'm just going to keep going with this. So, our inventory item UI. So each of you needs a reference to this object. So templates are essentially what I use to generate new game objects. It's a really easy way to sort things and make sure that I'm not using objects in scene when I talk about a template. The idea when I say template is this is a game object that isn't generated yet, but should be. And that if I'm going to generate it, I need to then dump that from the prefab and not from something that's in scene. So we have our inventory item UI. And I'm essentially going to say for each item in your inventory. Now, I don't have the idea of a backpack space yet. So let's add that as well while we're here. And for now, do I want to constant this? Do I not? Public, let's see. Int, we'll call, Okay, for now, we're going to make this probably something that's fixed. We're going to say you get 8 inventory slots for now. This isn't, a forever thing, obviously. Anything we write in code here can be changed or messed with later, but for now, we're going to say backpack slots is a we're just going to say, for each one in here that isn't null. So I'm just going to toss a continue in here. We're just going to use the inventory item UI. And we're going to just generate more of these. So, here we go. The new item UI is going to be grabbed by that. We know that the new item UI has a inventory item UI attached to it. Hopefully we're not getting too conflicting in terms of names. We do have a lot of things that are very similarly named, but so far, at least in my head, I haven't had any collisions yet. So the moment I start to have those collisions, though, I need to separate names further, either make them more verbose or add things to them to make them not such a high chance of colliding with one another. So minus minus means not equals. Are you guys seeing a minus minus when I type not equals? Wait. Panda, you might need some glasses. You really might. Because as far as I know, I don't think that says what you think it says. So I did put double equals here. What I'm essentially saying is for each item in a backpack slot that is null, just skip it. Just continue the for each loop and keep going. The reasoning here is that I'm not a fan of having big if statement lines. So I don't want to say if the item's not null, do this, and then just have nothing after it. If I use an if statement, I want there to be very clear, very obvious logic that needs to be run specifically. Otherwise, it's easier for me to do a null check, hit continue, and then proceed to have code that is on the same tab line as the if statement. It makes things cleaner. You're not following brackets back and forth as often, and it kind of keeps your code a little cleaner. So the item reference is going to be equal to the item. So now we've got the item reference set. The other thing to do, now that we've set the item reference, I'm actually going to add some information to inventory item. Specifically, I want this item icon. Now I really want the item icon to pop in. Let's see here. So the only thing I don't know is if I should be using a texture 2D or a sprite. We need to poke at this for a sec. So an inventory item UI. And let's just put our dividers in here. I know we don't have much to divide up right now, but I do like to at least keep my my basic functionality and my variables separate. Let's see, this requires a Unity image to be attached. I'm actually going to just add this to our using statements just to make my life a little easier. We all understand image is a Unity image, not any other kind, so I don't have to do any silly shenanigans to get this going. Let's see here. So I don't actually know what the image name thing is. That is a source image. Okay. I guess it's using sprite. So let's just use a sprite. So every inventory item now also has a sprite. That is our item icon. So we go to the item ref and we grab the item icon and we set that. And just to update this, here is the daggers sprite and here is the sword sprite. So okay, they both have the information now. So what should happen, oh, they don't have a parent. That's the final step. Do I care about slot number or what that's attached to? Not particularly. I'm trying to think if there's any reason I would care. I don't. Yeah, no, I shouldn't need to do anything too crazy. I'm just going to quickly fix the backpack slots to count. Just to make things even more obvious. 0, 1, you should be 2. And if I don't hit enter, it doesn't save the information, of course. You are not 3. You are number 3. So I'm actually going to resort these as well, since I'm in here doing this already. There's slot 4, slot 5. The reason I'm naming these is so I can easily define where things exist. And 7, good. I can easily know what slot in the inventory array these items exist in, and shifting things around in your own inventory is not a bad thing. Allowing players to shift and mess with their inventory is actually really cool when possible. So I'm going to try and allow that when I can. Item icon, great. So I guess that's the other piece here, is we need to say from the inventory canvas, we're going to do 2 find childs here, or we can actually technically do this in 1 find child. We can say we're going to find the child, and I need to figure out how this works. Backpack slots slash backpack item slot. Oh, I don't have item index here. Let's just do this in a for loop. There we go. And I'm just going to say inventory item equals backpack slots I. That should take care of the worst of it. And then we just say I. And just like magic, so we should now have the transform. So we say the new item, its UI, transform set parent. We're going to set our parent to this new object we just found. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to grab our local position and set it to 0. So that it sits right on top of it. I can't think of anything else more that should need to be done, except for obviously fixing the compiler error. What is it? Oh, it's complaining about that. Thank you, game. Alright, apply. I did hit apply, right? Let's just hit it again just to make sure. Delete that. Okay, so there's no items in this guy's inventory, which is part of why we don't see anything getting generated. So let's grab this guy and just dump a few, like, it should go dagger, there's a sword. This guy just loves his weapons, and so we're just going to dump a bunch of weapons in his inventory and see if it crashes when we do this. It doesn't. Cool. And just to double check, so starter dagger in slot 0. 1, 2, 3. So he should have a sword in 4 and a sword in, let's see, sword in 4 and a sword in 5. So this isn't quite right because 5 is in the wrong spot. Did I just, I know what I did. I just changed the name and changed their order. I didn't actually change their position on the board, so they're still all wacky and out of place. Okay. Not bad. We just fix that, and that fixes everything else. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, here's our problem. 4, 5. No. 4, you are number 6. You are number 5. We just have to fix a name. And 7. There we go. We reapply. We delete. We try this once more. Once more with feeling. And we look at player 1. So he's got, here's our dagger in 0, sword in 4, sword in 5. And the only thing that we don't have is the hand slots are the only piece of the puzzle that we haven't actually made yet. So, part of me wonders if there's a good way to do this. A better way to do left and right than doing them by hand. I mean, if I follow a standard naming scheme, this shouldn't be too bad, right? So what I can do is I can say, I have to enumerate through an enumeration. I think I can just, I actually, for each, it's for each equip slot in, can I do this? I would be so happy if I could. Of course I can't. No, it's a type, but it's used like a variable. There's probably some way to enumerate through this. I just have to figure out how. No, system.enum.get names. Here we go. That looks like that's what I need. Cannot convert string. Oh, that's fine. So that kind of solves part of the issue. The other issue is that I just don't have a way to tie these. I mean, I could just do a ton of data binding, right? That would be the easiest way to do it. Just hand bind things. And each time I change the UI, I have to make a matching code change, but that's not the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Let's just write a helper function to deal with this, and then from there we can yeah, from there we can handle the rest of this pretty easily. So we'll call it create item UI, and we'll want to give it a what? So we want to give it the inventory item. We want to give it the name of the slot that it needs to bind itself to. So for example, in our character inventory, if we're doing the left-hand slot, that's what we want to put in. So I'll just call it UI name for now. Actually, this is our parent UI name. And is there any other information we really need? Not that I care about at the moment. If we need more, I'll add more. Oh, we do have more. I just thought of this. We probably want to pass the game object, which is the inventory UI window. I don't know if I need the word window there, but I like it, so I'll keep it. Yeah, that's fine. And then all we'll do from here is we'll say create item UI. Here is the inventory canvas. Here is the left-hand slot. It is named left-hand slot. And then, let's see, is there anything else going on in this UI? Not particularly. Nothing that exciting, at least. And in fact, I can even go so far as to take this function and just do a quick... so first off, if the item's null, just return. Don't do it. Just don't create things that don't exist. That's step one. The other step here, let's see here. So I don't actually need this null statement here anymore. We'll see how much I can clean this up. But here's our inventory canvas. Here is the item in question and the name. is this. Look at how clean that gets. Oh, that's sexy. I love it. I don't even need the brackets anymore because I've done a one-liner here. Except that there's a problem here. What? Oh, okay. This needs to simplify down to our parent UI name. We just have to do the work down here that we kind of forgot about. Is that really all there is to it? Looks like it. Okay, cool. Paft is asking, so every frame it will look for the child and the component, just getting things together, or are you going to change that later on? So we're not actually doing this every frame. This only happens once. This code gets run when you click on the person and it generates their inventory object. The per frame stuff is going to be two parts. It's going to be the drag results and it's going to be the hover over tooltips. And even the hover over tooltips will actually probably be event based. So you're going to see very little of this end up inside of a update function. A lot of this is actually happening inside of one-time functions that don't get called terribly often. That's kind of part of the joy of this whole thing, is that a lot of the system is just very event driven. And so, yeah, you will have spikes in processor usage when you click on it to create one of these things. But aside from that, did I really put a weapon in each of his hands? I mean, he's a warrior, so it makes sense. But yeah, I did. I put a weapon in each of his hands. He has a dagger in his left hand, and he's got a sword in his right hand. Sweet. That's awesome. So yeah, there'll be these spikes in processing, but hopefully the spikes won't be so bad as to cause any kind of like frame rate dip. And it definitely beats doing anything on a per frame basis, right? Per frame is kind of the devil in some ways for us. And we want to keep in mind that we really want to avoid that if possible. Per frame can be really, really painful for games. And so avoiding that is, it's not pre-optimizing even. It's just coding smart, doing it right the first time. Okay, so we've got the inventory. We have no way to close it. So let's do that, and then we'll also do putting things in different slots. And then I think I'm going to call it a day for today. We've already been at this for about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. I'm actually happy with what I've been able to get done in an hour and 40. Usually my Tuesday through Thursday 8 a.m. power hour of programming, I don't get quite this much done. And so I'm really happy that on the weekend I can kind of sit down and get a lot more done. I will just toss a quick thing in. If you guys are sitting here loving what you see and want to continue to see this, I do a daily stream every Tuesday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Or if you just want to hit the follow button and just get emails when I stream, do that too. That's a great way to kind of keep in touch with seeing how the game is going. And if you can't catch those streams, don't worry about it. I have a YouTube channel where I push all of the videos to. I think I've got the first 7 put up, and obviously they're only about an hour long. Today's is actually going to be one of the longer ones. It will probably go 2.5-ish hours. I've probably got another 40-ish minutes of work left, I think. I'm not actually certain about that, but we'll see. So, okay, we need a way to close it. And I just realized that they had something in the template that I could have used for the UI stuff. And I just closed paint.net and everything else. So let's reopen that real quick and fix that. I hate to be missing anything that I would find useful. So let's do one more art transfer because I don't like this PSD file and I would rather be done with it sooner rather than later. We just turn everything off just to make it amazingly obvious what we're working with here. Oh, interesting. They have a previous and next version of this too. So instead of, if I don't want this to be a close button, I want this to be a left or right arrow. That's really freaking cool. I'll have to remember that in the future in case I ever decide to use this some more. But for now, I don't care. I just want a marquee tool to grab that. We're going to dang it, come on. Because pixels in a group cannot be edited without merging the group. Interesting. It sounds like it's not wanting me to be able to deal with these three separately. I'm just going to temporarily merge it. Do this, and then I'll just put it back. Easier to do that than lots of other things. Also, you'll note that it is huge in comparison to some of the other artwork here. So we're just going to proportionally shrink it so that it would follow its previous usage of kind of snapping to the side of this. Let's see here. Looks a little small, actually. Let's add a couple pixels to each end. Get this to line up as best as we can. I know sometimes beggars can't be choosers, but this is one of those times when I would rather have my art match if I can. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Where is... Aha, I need the right magic wand tool because I have learned. There we go. We nuke that. I just can't help but note that there is a little bit of pixel or a little bit of sprite here that's getting caught. I don't actually know if I should delete this. Let's nuke it. What happens if I leave it? How good or bad does it look in that case? No, I don't like the extra pixels attached. Let's get rid of them all. Away they go. It actually looks a little too large still, but I'll futz with it later. Big thing is we can get rid of, yeah, we just close this without saving and everything is good. Let's get this attached to our prefab and then make it close, and that should be kind of most of the hard work done. Let's get our texture change. We have to, every time we add a new sprite, obviously we have to hop in here and grab the new sprite and add it to our sprite sheet. It's not the end of the world. Just a little work that has to get done each time. And there is no way in heck that this is going to be anything except a simple image. It's not going to happen any other way. Title. Yeah, we'll attach it to the title for now. Because why not? That is huge. Let's stop it from being huge. Let's make this a little larger. Okay, maybe not that much larger, but a little. Is that pretty? Bordering on pretty. If I could get its proportions right, it would be. I guess the other way to do this would be to actually just anchor it correctly. Let's see, your pivot point would then be 0, its center would be there, and we want to actually anchor it to the right hand side. Hey, look at that, it looks nice. 24 by 38, 24 by 36, no, it starts to look a little too squished. Yeah, let's just go with this. There we go. Close button. That's huge. It actually, it does bother me still. That's too large. 20 by, I don't know, 32? I don't know. I just don't think it should be so, so friggin' huge. And yes, that dude, it was indeed puppies. My own dog and one of my housemate's dogs ran into the backyard, and they're now. You can actually hear my dog who got stuck inside. He's whining a little. Not whining as much as he usually does, but he's whining a little. Alright, let's not actually anchor it to this object. Let's try something else. We're going to just huck it onto this piece. We're going to rotate it slightly. Oh, that's scale. Derp. That's the wrong. Okay, have to fix the pivot point too before we do this, but there we go. I kind of want to put it behind, honestly. Let's see if that doesn't look too bad. The X looks kind of bizarrely placed because of the way in which the graphic is clearly meant to be used, and we're using it a different way. Let's see, maybe I should pop it off the side instead, just so that it continues to at least use its original art style and doesn't look quite so bizarre. That's a bit much. Let's try one. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. That's good enough, honestly. Oh, right. We need to write a function that actually closes the inventory itself. We can actually probably just tie an on-click event to the to a game object.destroy, and then I can take care of it that way. So event trigger, we want a new trigger that says on pointer click. Here is the character inventory object you are about to be attached to. Game object. Oh, I can't just destroy self. I wonder if I can send message to destroy? That'd be hilarious. I know I can set active, but that doesn't actually destroy it so much. Detaching children, still not the same. Yeah, I might just have to write an extra script or do some little piece here to make sure that it can get destroyed. Let's see if Unity has anything here for me. Event triggers, yeah. Can be used to specify functions you wish to be called for each event system event. You can assign multiple. Assigning this component to a game object will make that object intercept all events. Oh. And no event bubbling will occur. Interesting. Good to know. Autoplay music? There isn't any autoplay music on my website. At least not that I know of. There isn't even music on the stream. That dude, these are not my art assets. These are pulled from... I posted the link a long time ago. Let's see. Maybe I can find it again. Because I don't even remember the name of the group right now. No. Okay, my Twitch chat does not go back that far. It is Ravenmore. There we go. There's the name I'm hunting for. That's my art, where a lot of the art's coming from. It's open source stuff that you can find. It's beautiful art. I absolutely adore the stuff. But yeah. ProJosh, I really... Huh, really? My site shouldn't have music that starts playing. I don't have any music that starts playing if I go to my own portfolio website. Don't know what your Chrome is doing, but it's not me. Not me at all. I do know the annoyance of going to a site and having it autoplay music. That's incredibly annoying, and I would try and avoid that. And so, yeah, my own website doesn't show any music for me. I do have some videos that if you click on the right place, you can see there's music in the videos, but oh well. Back to you, Bob. No. Don't know why that popped in my head. How to destroy, let's see here. In editor, destroy, on click, Unity. I guess I don't need in editor, I just need editor. Okay, people doing it procedurally, but the procedural way is not that great. The one thing to keep in mind with procedural stuff, data pretty much always trumps more code. The more code you write, the more stuff can go wrong. As opposed to if you can just insert things using data, that's really the best way to do it. I'm just kind of amazed. Like, there isn't some simple, easy way to say when somebody clicks on this image, is static layer name broadcast message send message. Like, I don't have an easy way to just say, destroy this. Destroy this entire thing. I can detach children, I can set parents, I can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Alright, well, I'm just gonna cheat. I know I don't like writing code for some of these, but sometimes it's just how it works. This is going to be a destroy me script. Guess what? It's not really going to have much in the way of functionality. It's just going to have this weird function called destroy game object. And whatever you send to it, it doesn't care. It's just going to call game object dot destroy on its own game object. It's like magic. Alright. That should clear this up. Because now we just have the button click go straight to that. Destroy game object. Hey, look at that. So now if I just pop, away it goes. So I can bring it up. And I didn't... Okay. We have to, A, not scare the bejesus out of ourselves with this. And B, we have to actually apply that to the prefab so that the prefab actually plays nice. So click, hey, look, it exists, and we clear it out. The only other thing I really want to do here is I want to make sure that one of these doesn't exist in the scene before... Wow, dog is whining. Each time I open one of these canvases, I just want to make sure that we don't have multiple of these open. So I'm actually going to have a static game object that is the inventory canvas singleton. I think I'll just call this the inventory singleton. Inventory UI singleton, maybe, just so I know exactly what it is. So we're gonna say if inventory UI, let's see, if that's not null, then we're gonna just destroy it first. So inventory UI singleton game object. Oh wait, it is a game object. So we're just going to handle it like that. It's never assigned. Yeah, I know it's never assigned. Now it's been assigned to. And then this is going to get set here. So we say destroy the old one, set the new one in place. And this should keep us from ever needing more than one. It should allow us to just keep, each time you click on it, it should set a new one and get rid of it. Hey, Chakma! Yep, I'm working. Doing it again. Back at it. I could put a small script on the object so when I click it, it does a set active to false on the stored character inventory object so I don't have to recreate it. Yeah, I could. I'm lazy right now. And I'm assuming that you're going to be playing this on a computer that's capable of deleting and recreating small objects. And it's not going to be happening terribly often. I mean, think of how often you open up your character's inventory in a game, right? Like, I'm not doing it more than once a second. And yeah, this is a little bit of garbage collector fodder each time I do this, but I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just kind of happy to have bits and pieces of this be in place. And you'll note that there is only ever one. If every time I click on one of these, it's obvious, right? Our character inventory, there's only one. Hey. Cool. So the last piece of this before I sign off for the day is just to get this to allow me to drag objects between inventory slots so that I can kind of rearrange where things go. So if I want to move this to his inventory, I'd like to be able to do that. Obviously right now, nothing does that. Nothing even knows how to do that. So let's see. Trying to think of how to do this, because it's been, I wouldn't say a long time, but it's been a little while since I've poked at some kind of code like this. And actually, I'm going to take a moment. You know what? No, I'll submit my code at the end. It's not like anyone else is working on this with me. So let's see, character, player character. So how do we do this? How in the world do we get this to do anything even? So first thing we have to do is we have to set our on-end drag to do the right kind of processing. So it needs to check who it's touching, for lack of better words. So if it's attached to a new backpack slot, we need to move it over to that. We need to reparent it, and then I'm trying to think if anything else has to happen. But I can't think of anything. We'll come up with stuff, I'm sure. I'm sure problems and bugs and other things will arrive while I work on this. It's just kind of how things tend to happen for me. So first things first, we need to check all the other objects in the UI for... Yeah, we need to check them for whether I collide with anything else. Just kind of looking at my UI and trying to figure out how to do this, because I did not plan to do all of this today. I actually thought I'd kind of burn out after the hour or hour and a half point. I'm glad I'm able to keep chugging away, but it's definitely... I need to think. So, whoops, I did not mean to keep his open, or to keep the one in scene open. So let's see here. I click on a warrior. He has all these cool things in his inventory. I click on this, and on end drag, I want to essentially check backpack slots, and I want to check all the other things with inventory slot items attached to them. So I think I'm going to undo some of my organization earlier. All the backpack slots, I think I'm just going to shift them right back out to here. Yes, I know that'll break the prefab stuff. I do not mind. Yeah, we'll see if this helps or not, but at bare minimum, it should allow me to do some cheap tactics to start with, and then we can clean it up after. So for each, We're going to look through all the transforms. I'll call them siblings. In parent dot, whoops. Yeah. Transform dot parent. So I'm going to look through all the objects who are sitting next to me. And we're going to see if the rectangle transforms collide. That should be the way to do this. I think rect transforms do have ways to check collisions. If they don't, I would be incredibly surprised. Because also they have these neat utility classes. So if it contains a screen point, great. Screen point to local point, no. And I'm trying to get this right here. Renazor? Let me know if I got that wrong. But Renazor, I think, has the right answer for me. iDrop handler on my item slots can receive the items you're dragging. Okay. So I don't have to do the handling in the on-end drag. I have to do the iDrop handler. Got it. So iDrop handler. Close enough? Good. I'm glad I don't butcher Twitch handles. I know I'm not great with them, but I know I don't. It's nice to know I'm not at least completely destroying it to the point where my own viewers are cringing whenever I say things like that. So here's my slot UI, and we have our iDrop handler, which is a part of. It's a part of the event systems. So we'll just add a using statement here at the top. And we need to actually implement the public function that handles the drop, which is onDrop with a pointer event data here. Cool. Now when something gets dropped on it, I'm just going to play with this for a moment. Data dot, let's see, the pointer drag. The object that is receiving the onDrag events. Perfect. I gotta say, I love the new UI stuff. Without it, I definitely would not be doing as much work in Unity as I have been recently. It's such a boon to have all of this existing in this kind of way. Okay, so I click, I drop, and when I drop, you can see in the console, it actually says, oh, you dropped an item UI clone. Because they live out here. I never set their... Oh god, okay. Terrifying things are happening. Let's fix a bug that we just found, shall we? Every time you create an inventory UI, I'm setting the parent of the item UI. Why isn't it... Is it not deleting them? Is that what's wrong? So I click on this. First off, you'll note that there are 3 items here, even though the UI only has a couple, so that's bizarre. Also, when I delete the inventory, these continue to exist somewhere. Specifically, it looks like they exist at the game's root. Somehow I'm not putting them in the right place, and then I'm proceeding to also not destroy them correctly. Oh, it's the items in the backpack. I think they're not being set correctly. Oh, because I removed this. There we go, problem solved. Bug fixed. Or so I think. Let's just double check this. Yes, okay. Items in inventory are now correctly doing their thing. Good. Good. Pointer drag dot. Does this have name access? Of course it has name access. Unity, everything has access to everything. So I click on the warrior. Oh, right. It's the item UI. That's always... okay. One more quick thing. We'll say the game object dot name. So we'll see who we're dragging and where we're dragging it to. And once we have those two pieces of information, it should be fairly easy to do the last step. So I just dragged this item that does not have a name. Oh, well, it has a name, but that's its name. And I just dragged it to backpack item slot 1. So we have to make a tie backwards into the actual placing of that. So an inventory slot needs a we need a reference to a character slot. I need to think about this for a sec. A reference to an inventory item. So it's not quite like inventory item. I can't just say inventory item because that is a reference to an item, not a reference to a reference of an item. This is one of those times when I really crave having a double pointer from C++. Really one of those times when I want one. Granted, I can't have pointers because this is C#. So instead, what I think I'm going to have to do... So I think I'm going to have to do something here. I just can't figure out quite what. There's got to be some way to hand it a reference to a... Can I hand it a reference to a reference? Like, if I get a null, can I fill in that null? Like, I need that kind of C++ power. That's something that I can't really... So I essentially need an item holder that lives in the player character. So the player character won't actually have... Okay, I think I understand it better. Evening, Fleabum. Let's see here. So if you look at the player character right now, you'll note that he has inventory items. It literally is an array of inventory items that are either null or filled in. What I actually need to do is I need a inventory slot that also lives within the character. And what this will allow me to do is I can hand a item between inventory slots, pretty much. So let's figure out how we're going to do this, because this is going to get a little crazy now. We have inside player character this array. This is just going to become a straight up list, probably. Is it though? Is it really? I don't think so. This is one of those problem solving things where I'm gonna try something, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna just delete all of it. So let's see. Do I have an inventory slot object already? I have an inventory slot UI, but I don't have an inventory slot script. I know I have a lot of similarly named scripts, guys. Try not to lose your minds. I'm working on keeping mine, but especially with all the bugs flying around. Sheesh. Inventory item. Why don't I just save the items when I destroy the UI? Why don't I save the items when I destroy the UI? So, why don't I? So part of my brain says I want immediate changes. Whenever I make a change, when I equip something, I want the change to kick in immediately. I'm trying to think of a reason. Like, just the game design portion of me says that's what I want. I need a reason why, though. And if I can't come up with a good reason, I just need to ignore that thought. Okay, example. I need these to update immediately, because if you are wearing an item that changes stats, such as I have a sword that requires a strength of 5 to hold, and I have an amulet that's giving me +1 strength. Usually my base strength is 4, but the amulet allows me to hold this sword. So if I take the amulet off and then continue to hold the sword and hit close on the inventory, the player may not realize that it will also, the logic will kick in and say, oh, you can't hold this sword because you're not wearing the amulet anymore. Your strength requirements don't meet. Therefore, drop the sword also. And they might not realize that they've dropped the weapon. So I think I want these to happen immediately, specifically because I want the item to, any changes that have to happen, I want them to take effect at that moment. Hopefully that makes sense. And what I can do is I can also associate equip slot types and attach the equip slot type to the inventory slot as well. So I'm actually going to put that first, and then we'll go from here. So for example, a player character no longer has a list of inventory items. They have a list of inventory slots. In fact, I might go so far as to say you have a list of inventory. Can I do this better? Can I have a dictionary of, no, I don't want to do the dictionary. Not yet, at least. Yeah. Let's see here. And you would want a slot type. Gosh darn it. So the only thing I don't like is now I can no longer have... I need to build a... Okay. So we'll do this one piece at a time. First we're going to move things around inside of the backpack, and then we'll get switching between backpack and hands and other things. So let them hold the sword but disable it. You still won't realize though, you've already closed the UI. The problem is not that they can hold the sword and the sword will still be in the slot or not. The problem will be they might not realize that they aren't using it. They might think, even though they've removed the amulet, that sword is still in hand and it's still working. So I want to make sure that I get all the information to the player. It is a good thought though. Saving the items when I destroy the UI does feel like that is a possible solution, but it feels like a solution that I might have to fight with later on. So I think for now I'm going to see if I can get away without it. Yeah, I pretty much assume the user is a monkey, and that they just, or is, you know, like somebody who they read but they don't logic out all the steps. So I need to inform my user of certain game rules being applied or removed when those rules take effect. And it's, you know, if you have all the power of the computer, why not implement the rules in such a way that the user gets all the information that they should need? Let's see here. So we do that. That fixes most of this. The only things really left at this point that we have to clean up now that we've switched from items to item slots is we have to get the slot UI to also have the reference. So we need a, this is a player slot reference. And let's see here. We need to set a lot of this stuff as it goes. Cybertech also has a good point. It's really cool to see stuff change immediately. That is a good point. Okay, so there's the slot reference. I'm actually not going to put the equip slot type in here yet. I know I like the idea of it. I'm not going to do it quite yet, though. So, okay, here's all the inventory slots. And those should not be null. Right? Those should just be... they should almost be pass-throughs. Man, I feel like there should be a much cleaner way to do this. I don't think the item slot is the way to do it. I really, like, part of me wants to do it this way, part of me really doesn't want to, because this feels like I'm just encapsulating, I feel like I'm just encapsulating an object inside of a reference. I feel like I could actually do a much better job if that is going to be what I do. Okay. Let's try something slightly different instead before I go for the inventory slot attempt. So I'm going to nuke this script, and we're going to put things back to how they were. So player character, there's no item ref here. These are not item slots. These are back to inventory items. So I've done this once before. And I want to make sure I'm doing this right, because I could really mess with stuff. But... yeah, okay, cool. I am doing this right. I think I'm doing this right. Getter, setter, action. Yeah, it's just kind of funny, because C# has all the right pieces in all the right places to support this, but it doesn't quite have the way to set this up. So okay, the slot UI is going to have the following. It's going to have let's see here. Turn off the notifications from that. I don't know if you guys heard. You probably heard it through my mic. Let's see here. Turn down the notification noise on my phone too, because I have a good mic and it'll pick all this crap up. Alright, so we need a new script still, or a new class more than anything else, right? So I'm just gonna new C# class, and this is going to be our I'll just call it a reference class. And this kind of, yes, this does kind of break the language. So I don't know if this is the best way I should be handling this, but we're going to try it. So this is going to be a templated class in which we hold, no, this also feels bad because I'm still breaking the language. I'm doing something a language should not do. Man, there are better ways to do this. I just have to think of it, and I have to get it right. The inventory slot can have a what? A function. Okay. The result void, and then you pass into it what? So I like your guys' suggestions so far. Cybertech saying, how about a lookup table that just holds each item reference and slot index, and then I sort the inventory layout, a sort of inventory layout that each character has. So what I essentially would say is, so the hard part here, it would be easy if this were just handling all the things that live inside the player's equipped section. But the unequipped section is different because it's this blob of data. It almost seems to require a different kind of setup. It requires a way to set an item on a per reference basis, because I have my array of backpack items, and then I have all the different variables that handle the actual equipped slots. So what I think I'm going to try is I'm going to hand myself a function. And let's see, why are you complaining already? Void cannot be used in this context. Yes, it can. What are you talking about? It's a type. The type of the return value of the method. It's going to be a void. Oh, whoops. I have them backwards. Okay, it's still complaining, but it's complaining a little less. It's... Okay, complaining even less. Void can't be used in this context. What do you mean it can't? The result is a void. What's the problem? Do I need to do a type of around it? Oh, okay, I need to use action, not func. Got it. Got it. I was just using the wrong type. So the idea is I'm going to pass it generated functions that they will hang on to, and then they can use the generated function to equip things. So this will be actually the equip slot function. So that might be one way to do it, right? I would say this player character, when he opens his inventory and creates these UI items, he's also going to hand it a ton of functions. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking that maybe the collection of items in one place might actually be better, because then I can hand the collection across, and once I've handed the collection to somebody else, we can then do our standard passing of items back and forth to kind of keep us from losing information that lives inside of each of these. Sounds like I'm going to need a custom inspector, but that might not be the worst thing in the world. I mean, the other way I can think of doing this would be that I could use the backpack as a mono behavior, so it's a separate script that lives on the object, but I don't like that. I don't like adding more objects when I don't need them. So is it possible for each character to have their own dictionary? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea here. Okay, yeah. So this is I think how I am going to get this going. Let's see here. So I've got, instead of backpack slots and left-hand slot and right-hand slot, I think I'm going to proceed to generate everything all at once and dump it into one fat array of things. And from there, the array of things will get passed around so that the inventory screen can then modify stuff. I've got a couple dogs who are staring. Well, mine's staring at the other one at least. You'll hear the pitter-patter of little nails. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm trying to figure this out. And sometimes distractions can be good, honestly. You find if you ever get stuck on the same kind of same string of thought, go over it over and over and over, and you're not coming up with anything good, being distracted and then coming back can be a really big help sometimes. Just trying to think if there's any easier way. If I'm doing something that could be made simpler, Because honestly, the simpler this gets, the more I should say, the simpler this gets, the more reliable it gets. The less code there is, the less stuff there is to go wrong. Yeah, the idea is I'd use an action is essentially a delegate. You pass it a function reference, and it can then do things with the function reference. So I would create a function that sets a very specific object, and then I would just pass it functions that could modify objects. I'm going to poke at that first, just to see how much trouble it would cause. So for example, I create the item UI, and then I'm going to go so far as to create the, let's see, I've got item UI, there we go, inventory UI singleton. Let's look at our scene for a moment. So we've got all these backpack slots, and we've got all the other bits and pieces. Okay, let's do the easy thing, right? Let's just reparent stuff first, because that is something that is going to have to happen, and we just need to make sure that the reparenting does things. So specifically, when you drop an object, transform set parent to our game, or to our transform. And then, is that really it? I think that's really it. I think something so simple may be all that I need for that. So I do this, I drag it. Hey, look, it's changing. For some reason, it doesn't want to go to these, and I'm kind of curious why. Oh, it might be because I've got multiple of these. Let's try doing this. Just for, okay, so I've got a backpack item slot 7. If I move it to, oh, it doesn't actually work with many of these? Interesting, something's going on here that is causing it to be incredibly unhappy. Also, I like how I think my warrior lost all the items that he had in his inventory. Yeah, because I nuked things. Whoopsies. So let's see. If I drag it here, you can see it reparenting itself around. But it doesn't want to reparent itself to something above itself in the chain. Oh, because maybe the on drag is happening in different orders? Because you'll note, okay, it works going downwards, but not back up. It's probably that transform reset that's killing it. I bet this is it. If I do this over here in the on drop, I bet that'll do it. Let's get rid of the old one, bring up the new one. Nah. Oh, I'm setting the wrong transform. Don't mind me, I'm just doing really silly things. Everyone wants to talk to me today. I am all kinds of popular right now. Interesting. So it really doesn't even want to let me go backwards in the chain. just for some reason that iDrop handler is not kicking in. Or if it is, something's going wrong with it. Let's put the debug logs back in. The pointer drag object name, and also we're going to put in the object's name that's being dropped on so that we can see this. So we bring up our player 1 stuff. Might need to do something such as removing the parent while it's being dragged, making sure it's at the bottom of the hierarchy and on top of everything. Oh, because it's ending up, except it ends up under some of these objects and still is fine. Like, the weird thing is you can see it, if I collapse this down, you can actually see it walking. Man, it just does not want to go back up in the hierarchy. You're right, maybe I should try just removing its parent while I'm dragging it. So we're just going to tack a iBeginDrag handler to this, because this is really the best way I can think of doing this. And we're just going to say set parent to, let's see, you do this, we'll just set its parent up 1. So transform.parent.parent. So my parent's parent, when I start dragging, is where I will end up. And I guess let's just put a private variable in here. Or like, let's see, previous. Because what we don't want to do is keep clicking on it and not drag it somewhere and have the parent keep moving upwards further and further in the cycle. So our previous parent is going to be equal to our transform parent. We set the parent, and then we say if our transform.parent is equal to this weird amalgamation of things, then we just reset everything. It does make me wonder also the order of operations here. So I'm just going to put a little just a little debug text to help me label this, because obviously if this happens first, I'd rather it not do damage to anything down the line. So on end drag happens first. Okay, right hand slot. But you'll note, like, the left hand slot isn't getting any love. Well, no, there it goes. But not every time. Okay, first off, let's watch this actually occur inside the hierarchy so I can understand what's happening here. So I grab the dagger. The dagger is now sitting on the parent, and if I put it back, on end drag happens. And I'm not actually seeing it land on things is the scary part. So the lack of iDrop call is what's bothering the heck out of me. These should all have valid raycast targets attached to them. And for some reason, it simply does not want to call on them all, or any of them. I think the drag end technically happens first. But yeah, this is incredibly bizarre because it's not, I'm not getting on drop calls all the time. So if I put the dagger here, and then I click on it again and put it back, it's fine. But if I pick it up to drag it, and I try and put it back where it came from, you'll note that, whoops, okay, so I got all the events, and then this time I did not. If I uncollapse it, you'll note, here's the last one where it put it back correctly, and actually it looks like the drop event happens, and then the on-end drag event happens. Why is it not calling that? I mean, that seems bizarre. Let's see if anyone else has run into it. On drop is sometimes ignored. Yeah, I'm going to pull my Google searches over to here so I can A, continue to see chat, and also so I can see what the heck is going on these web pages. This might help. Let's see. The raycaster we use is based on graphics. Yes, it has a graphic attached. Am I calling drop on the wrong object? Is that what's going on here? If you wish to receive on-drop callbacks. Well, yes, but what does an on-drop callback mean? Called by a base input module on a target that can accept a drop. Okay, so I did put that on the right object. That is definitely not the problem. We know that's not the problem because I've... Look at this. It just... Huh, that is so bizarre. Okay. Weird, stupid, crazy hack to try something that may or may not actually be meaningful. We grab the object who's being dragged. We not only change the parent, we also say, from your previous parent, set as, oh, okay, here we go. Transform dot set as first sibling. This would be idiotic if this was the case, but just in case. Let's try this. So, and now it works every single time. So you will note that when I click and drag on it, the item disappears because it's being pushed behind everything else, because its sort order is now getting drawn first and then other things are being drawn over it, which is bullcrap, but you know, it works. Like, we're clearly clicking and dragging and it's going. So there is probably some bug in Unity's system with on drag and on drop. So also you'll note that the skull magically found its way behind things. What? Skull, what are you doing back there? You should be here. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm not terribly happy about this, but I think the way to handle all of this craziness, the item UI needs one more piece to the puzzle before I think the dragging can work correctly. And what we need, where is it? Rendering? Is that where it goes? That's a canvas renderer. I need the layout, I think. Yeah, here we go. I hate to do this. But let's see here. First, let's put this down under an object. We add a canvas. We override the sorting, and we put the sort order second. I'm going to apply that change to our item UI. And we'll see if this now works. So close that. Mini-Me, thank you for following. I do appreciate. And now I can't click on it. Oh god, I've run into this before. I have the canvas, I have the canvas renderer, and I have to do something else as well. It like needs its own graphics raycaster. That's what it is. God, I hate doing this stuff. Like, this feels like the biggest freaking hack in the world. Yeah, but it's the way it gets done, I guess. Okay, we close this, we open his, we click. Hey, look, there's our dagger. I have a feeling it did not go into a specific position. So we're back to not working every single time. I hate this. I really, really hate it when this crap happens. Like, there it is working, and then it won't work. It straight up just says, I refuse to. It honestly seems to refuse to work almost unless it's outside of this thing. What happens if I remove the nested canvases and all the extra crap attached to it? Watch it start working again. No, it still doesn't like it. It just says, sometimes I think I'll work. This is a headache. Like an incredibly painful headache. Not actually painful, but like annoyingly code-wise painful. Raycast target is turned on. It should also be turned on for all of these objects, which it is. What else am I missing, guys? I mean, you know as well as I do that this should work. As far as I can tell, it does. There's just this weird sometimes when it decides not to. It makes me wonder if like someone, except that if someone else were intercepting the on drop event, then we would at least see the, no. Is someone else using the on drop event? Because that would stop it from propagating down the line, right? We need to make sure that it is propagating correctly. I'm kind of tempted to go back to the, oh, no, I don't like that much better, honestly. Going back to using event triggers just to make sure crap happens. Because I honestly don't trust some of this anymore. While their event system is great, it definitely makes you wonder when shit like this happens. Also, hilariously enough, when you try and put in a on-drop event, it just doesn't show up. Like, I have an on-drop function. It simply refuses to show up. Alright, well, we've got quite the conundrum on our hands. Because this is just, it's not how this should be. Something is wrong. We're missing some piece of the puzzle, and unfortunately, we don't get to know what it is. I wonder if its own image is blocking it. It'd be stupid, but it might actually make sense. If its own image is blocking it, it wouldn't explain why the every, well, it would explain why the every other works. Let's try something. Let's do something stupid. So first off, what happens if I turn off raycast target out of curiosity? Okay, I can't interact with it anymore. That makes sense. I actually expect that. So, okay, we turn that back on. We can click on it again, but now this won't be nice. It won't play nice. So what we have to do is we have to say, well, when you get clicked on, get component image, not in parent. I just want get component. Thank you very much. We're going to turn off the fact that it's a raycast target. So yes, right now this will force us to only allow us to do this once. Also, I can't help but note that why did it still disappear when I clicked on it? Did it stop getting the events? Like, is that what happened? Okay, the item being first does put it behind everything. Right, I need to stop doing that. In fact, if anything, set as last sibling should be what's going on here. Just so that the viewing still works. So, okay, here we have a dagger, here we drop it. Great. I mean, okay, I mean, this seems to actually have repaired this issue. So if we want to, if we want to test it completely, we need to try it on an object that is higher in the hierarchy. So if I shift the right-hand object to the backpack, and then the left-hand object to the right-hand object, ta-da, it works. As garbage as that is, this is our fix. On end drag, we turn this crap back on. On end drag happens after. So that should be fine. If that equals that, then there we go. It's ugly. I don't like it. It works. Note how the first two statements don't really matter. Because it works. It's blocking. Okay. Oh my god. So here's what's going on. It's blocking its own raycasting. Which seems stupid, right? When you click and drag something from point A to point B, it should follow the mouse cursor. Like 90% of the time, when you have a click and drag object, guess what stays under the cursor? The object that you are dragging. That's why it's called dragging. Oh, it sounds silly, but that is the case. Okay. Problem solved. Okay, so we have dragging and dropping. We're coming up on the 3-hour mark, guys. I think I'm going to save the rest of this for another time. I will ponder and figure out just how in the world... I love this. Unity's text is now garbled. I can't win. I really can't win today. There we go. Fixed it. Whatever. Guys, thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free, throw them my way. I'm going to change all my health bars to look like the nicer version. And I'm actually going to get this guy's nicer version. There's one more thing in here that I want to fix. Specifically, your handle. There we go. I want to make sure that they fit well within their like little sets of information. yellow one can also go over 1. You know what? Actually, I think this was fine how it was. Alright, let's switch the others. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, toss them my way. If you haven't hit the follow button yet, I urge you, please do so. I love to have more folks helping me out, fighting the good fight to try and get this game up and running and going. Like today, you know, sometimes you just hit that brick wall and you have to keep going, even after things try and bring you to a screeching halt. It was definitely good practice at figuring out and understanding why things in the Unity system exist the way they do, and this not only helps me at work, it'll help me in the future when I make more UI objects. I'll go, right, I remember there's this stupid thing in Unity, and here's how I fix it. So it is definitely a fantastic learning experience. Let's see, sliding area. Okay, here's the handle. The handle is an easy change, right? We just say progress bar, and then we cut its size down by a significant portion. And then it doesn't update until we go back and forth, or till we hit play and stop. Okay. How do I get the... Oh, here it is, background. You become the progress bar background. Or, no you don't. You become the checkbox background. For some reason that works even better. And then, if I remember correctly, we also have to fix our sliding area to go 11 pixels from the top and 11 from the bottom. Whew. Only 5 more of these to go. Health bar fixed. I wonder if I could just batch do a ton of these all at once and do them the exact same way. So let's see, energy bar, energy bar, energy bar, sweet, I can. Efficiency. I think that's the only change I need to make here. Also, they are not raycast targets. Let's turn that off. Hello, Minerva. Alright, we've got this. Let's see here. Go into our energy bars. Actually, okay, no. I was hoping it would open all of the health bar bits at the same time as well, but alas, it does not, which is fine. I can at least do all 4 at once still. I can appreciate being able to do that. Here's our progress bar. I could probably clean this, the sprite itself up a teensy bit as well. And you are not raycast targets either. Whoa, what's going on here? Some of these aren't playing nice. Well, let's turn off the raycast target. Actually, yeah, okay, raycast target turns off. What is the first one doing? Okay, these are minus, it's -5. That's my problem. -5 for you, you, and you. I think that should, there we go. There's that batch change I was looking for. That's nice. Okay, we've got those 3. The health bars themselves, we need to switch to the correct sprite. Sweet. Instead of doing this too many times, I'm only going to do it a fair number of times. Hey, you know, sometimes, Minerva, it's being the gamer is the best part of it. It just, for me, there's a certain joy to also making things that other people enjoy. That's also part of why I stream. It's just, it's easy to kind of put all the bits and pieces together and watch other people enjoy the stream, enjoy the game, whatever I'm working on or making. And as I do this stuff, there's joy from the people who play the game and also the people who sit here and watch me make the game. Oh, I didn't fix the sliding area in each of these either. That becomes 11. That becomes 11. Ta-da! Cool. So one more thing before I run off. I would like this to match the portrait. Or I'd like it to match the portrait size. So the portrait is 144 in height. So let's see if I can't just set this to the same. You're at 124. That doesn't seem right. Oh, portrait background. You're at 25. That makes much more sense. There we go. Look at that. Nice and clean. Everything lines up. Yeah. Much, much better. Let's just do that for everyone else, and then we'll be done. I'm calling it after that, because I have chugged through, I think, enough. I don't honestly know what I'm going to do with the rest of my day, but I'll figure something else out. I always do. (144), 25 height. There we go. Look at that. I love it when the bars go correctly. What else? Anything else? No? Any questions before I sign off, guys? You guys have been great. Thank you for all the help, enthusiasm, all that good stuff. The player, for some reason, is stuck in the floor. And I know exactly why. Let's fix that bug as well, since I'm like sitting here able to do so at this moment. Actually, oh, okay, I do know what's going wrong. We're just going to add another variable to our party real quick like. Movement, rotation, actually, yeah, I'll put this down here. This will be our walk height. And our walk height is going to, let's see here, transform, position. There we go, a little extra math, but this will ensure that our party's head height is at the correct height. Of course, I have to set the variable, otherwise none of this happens, but here's our walk height. I said the walk height was 1.6. And there we go. Whoa. Oh, because every frame I'm adding stuff in? Between my start position and the end position. Interesting. This should work. And yet... Okay, here. Better way to do this. There we go. That should clean it up. Yeah, the spam stuff doesn't even come across. They just like toss a link in and that's it. And it's just like, do you guys even bother? Like, at least before it was something of a meaningful... No, I'm still doing the jump upwards. That's really weird. I wonder why. When I hit forwards, oh, my start position is my current. This shouldn't be plus equals. This should be equals. There's my bug. Nailed it. There we go. I'll have to clean that up later, though. There is a bug in that part of the system that I do need to figure out. question just becomes, how do I handle it? Because I would rather not do this. That doesn't seem like a great way to actually be doing that. Da-dum-bum. How do we do this with data? How do I not make a code change to keep this? I think I just have to break the camera off into its own thing. Again. So here's our party camera, and we put it there, and we're just going to take the camera script that is here, and we're just going to shift it here. And because I want the rest of this stuff, I'm going to copy this across as well. Copy component, paste, copy component. Whoops, that was a remove. That was not what I wanted. Copy component and paste. There we go. And now we can get rid of all this stuff. So our party is now very literally just a party. But the party camera can have its own height, which will keep it elevated off the ground at all times, regardless of where I walk. Sweet, and I've got this, and I can walk around and play with my inventory as I do so. Now granted, these changes don't persist, so if I do that and click on it, you'll note it goes right back, but we'll deal with that on a different day. For now, guys, thank you again for joining me. Once again, it's been great having you all here, and if you have not hit that follow button, do it. You can see emails from, or you'll get emails that tell you when I'm online, and you can come check my stuff out straight away, see what I'm working on that day. If you don't have any free time when my schedule tends to set me up to stream, my YouTube channel, which is also linked below, will have all the VODs even after Twitch has tossed them out and they are long gone. Thanks again, guys. You've been great. Have a good rest of your day.